Nithyananda. Dear Hindustan Times, I am reaching out to you on behalf of Kailaasa in response to the article published on your website. While we acknowledge the vital role media plays in disseminating information, it is alarming to witness the media's unethical stance as well as systematic disinformation campaign to misrepresent and to inflict further persecution of our already marginalized and persecuted minority, our indigenous Hindu communities that are represented by Kailaasa. It is unfortunate that this article was published without contacting us. As a prominent media outlet, I am confident that you understand that there are always two sides to the story. We would appreciate it if you would, in the future, contact us to hear our side prior to publishing such articles. We avail ourselves of this opportunity to set the record straight. We request you to publish our response verbatim. You, by publishing this article, are undeniably responsible for furthering this one-sided disinformation campaign and inciting hate against our persecuted indigenous Hindu community. Disappointingly, this article was published on your website without contacting us. We strongly condemn any such Hinduphobic racist lawfare and disinformation systematically inflicted through such articles. Such racist lawfare and disinformation, as history has shown, is a weapon of heinous genocides that the imperial racists had inflicted transnationally for thousands of years, which has displaced millions of Hindus, pushing them into generations of homelessness and statelessness. 5 large corporate media houses, the Washington Post, MSN, The Week, Outlook Magazine, Dinamalar, all of them have removed their Hinduphobic and defamatory articles that carried similar disinformation against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Shri Nithyananda Paramashivam, and against Kailaasa. We expect you to follow suit and rectify the harm caused. I would like to address first the violation of ethics of journalism in your article. Internationally, it is recognized that the ethics of journalism include: number 1, truth and accuracy; number 2, independence; number 3, fairness and impartiality; number 4, humanity; and number 5, accountability. Your article does not fall under any of these ethics of journalism. We request these serious violations to be immediately addressed by you. Now, I will be addressing the disinformation against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Shri Nithyananda Paramashivam, related to the false and malicious allegations of rape. These allegations are unproven allegations, which are completely false, which are completely malicious, and as a part of a racist propaganda against Hinduism and Hindu gurus, including the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. Why doesn't the racist media clearly state that these allegations are, number 1, unproven? This is a legal fact. The racist media cannot say that the allegations are proven. It is important to note that despite nearly 15 years of malicious prosecution and vexatious litigation in India, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has never been convicted of any crime. This is the first point. The allegations are unproven. It is an undeniable legal fact. The second point. These unproven allegations are false and malicious. And here's the proof. More than 10 years ago, regarding the same false allegations of rape, the US judiciary in the United States District Court, Southern District of Ohio, in case number 213CV00526, the court fined the false victims nearly $500,000 in penalty for making these false and malicious accusations. So what is the conclusion? These false allegations were intended to defame the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. We, the people of Kailaasa, have a US court order which clearly establishes that these allegations are false and malicious. This court order also establishes that the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is innocent and vindicate the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism from all these false allegations of rape. The third point. Kailaasa is the first nation for Hindus. Kailaasa is created to protect persecuted minority Hindu indigenous communities. However, the racist media is defaming Kailaasa, calling it a fake nation, and de-legitimizing the purpose of Kailaasa, furthering the persecution of the already marginalized and persecuted minority, the indigenous Hindu communities that are represented by Kailaasa. If the media cries out for the human rights of others, then why not for us? Where are our human rights? Why is Kailaasa being targeted and singled out by the media? Is that not racist? So on one side, it is a legal fact that the allegations are unproven. On another side, it is established in the US court that the allegations are false and malicious, and that the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is innocent. And then there is an unjustified, ongoing attack on Hinduism and Kailaasa by the racist media. The racist media is purposefully not stating the truth. Will racist media ever say Nithyananda is a fugitive of unproven, false, malicious allegations of rape? No, because it doesn't push their racist agenda against Hinduism, and it fully exposes the racist media's bias and prejudice. The truth is that these malicious false allegations and the racist media's prejudiced coverage are a part of a raging lawfare and disinformation propaganda against Hinduism, against Hindu minorities, and against Hindu gurus, including the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. Now, I would like to address the matter regarding the false dehumanizing statement of the racist media when they address the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism as a fugitive. To highlight a few points contrary to your article, Interpol has rejected any requests to issue any notices for the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism based on evidence that was presented to them, clearly establishing your statements are not true. Fundamentally being the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Shri Nithyananda Paramashivam, is not a fugitive. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is a persecuted individual whose basic human rights were denied, which is well documented with a comprehensive and voluminous amount of evidence that can be shared with you upon request. Furthermore, a US court order exonerates the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. We have mentioned this several times and we are going to be reiterating even now. The Ohio USA Federal Court ruled in favor of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and fined the false victims nearly $500,000 in penalty. The omission of these US court orders that exonerate the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Shri Nithyananda Paramashivam, of the false accusations and at the same time actively spreading disinformation in relation to this clearly illustrates the bias in your media reporting. Now, regarding the disinformation about Kailaasa and the false portrayal of Kailaasa as a non-existent nation, let me ask you a simple question. Are Taiwan, Kosovo, or Palestine a state? Some would say that they are and others would say that they are not. But what is incontrovertible is that the self-determination is a human right. Self-determination. It is a human right which is enshrined in many international instruments, including the United Nations Charter. Another incontrovertible human right is the right to the freedom of religion. Let us understand exactly what is right to self-determination. The right to self-determination is when people with a common origin, history, language, culture, customs, or religion can turn into a nation through the awakening of a national consciousness. A nation can exist even without a state, as is exemplified by the stateless nations. Citizenship is not always a nationality of a person. The United Nations International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, the ICCPR, recognized by 178 nations, in its very first article declares, all people have the right of self-determination. By virtue that right, they freely determine their political status and freely pursue their economical, social, and cultural developments. These are rights being exercised by all of Kailasa's citizens. Kailasa may be less recognized compared to other states, but that doesn't deny the people of Kailasa from exercising their fundamental human rights and political rights of building diplomatic relations and recognition. Kailasa is a sovereign entity as per international law. Kailasa is a non-violent, humanitarian, service-oriented nation, and we are being hammered and persecuted by Hinduphobic, Hindu-mesic, racist forces, denying our right to exist, denying us our right to get recognition, and denying us and delegitimizing us of our right to survive. Next, I will address the disinformation against Kailasa, that is the false, defamatory, and derogatory claim that Kailasa representatives duped officials. False claims that Kailasa representatives signed a memorandum of understanding or agreement. The document which is being referenced in your news articles and reports was neither a memorandum of understanding nor an agreement, but a proclamation. As it is a proclamation, there is nothing that Kailasa receives in return. Furthermore, even if it was an MOU as you are claiming it to be, it would have merely been a statement of possibility of contributions in the future. However, Kailasa, without any vested interests, without anything to gain, without any obligation to contribute, completely selflessly has already contributed 3 million Paraguayan worth of medical aid to support the people in the local community of Paraguay. Kailasa's humanitarian aid is not gathered through taxes, as how most established nations would have, but is instead raised through hard work and sacrifices of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Shri Nithyananda Paramashivam, and contributions of hardworking individuals of a persecuted minority, indigenous community, that are also inspired to do the same, witnessing the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism's relentless sacrifice and unshakable commitment towards this mission. And now, regarding the disinformation against Kailasa, the false, defamatory, and derogatory claim that Kailasa's sister city agreement was a scam. As I previously have stated before, Kailasa is a sovereign entity as per international law. Kailasa is the revival of the ancient, enlightened Hindu civilizational nation, which is being revived by displaced Hindus from around the world. And now, regarding the disinformation against Kailasa, the false defamatory claim that Kailasa's sister city agreement was a scam. As mentioned previously, Kailasa is a sovereign entity as per international law. Kailasa is the revival of the ancient, enlightened Hindu civilizational nation, which is being revived by displaced Hindus from around the world. Kailasa is a recognized international body and has established bilateral relations and has not scammed anyone. Organizations and institutions representing Kailasa have established diplomatic relations with many cities, states, constituencies, municipalities around the world, bridging cultures, encouraging interreligious dialogue, and continuing our Hindu-based humanitarian service and to promote global peace through better understanding of diverse cultures. On November 9th, Kailasa contributed 3 million Paraguayan worth of medical aid to support the people of Paraguay. Kailasa is committed to more such contributions. However, it is unfortunate that through Hinduphobic racist articles, media such as you has derailed this humanitarian services that Kailasa is committed to. Kailasa is committed to making more such contributions. However, it is unfortunate that through Hinduphobic racist articles, the media has derailed these humanitarian services that Kailasa is committed to. You, by hosting and publishing this article, has extraordinarily amplified this systematic persecution. Instead of recognizing these extraordinary contributions, the authors and publishers, including you, have put systematic and focused efforts into inflicting deeply harmful disinformation that directly harms the vulnerable community who are beneficiaries of Kailasa's humanitarian aid. We demand a sincere apology for the blatant inaccuracies presented in your articles and publications. A correction or clarification acknowledging the false information and providing accurate details about Kailasa is imperative to rectify the harm caused. Your role as a responsible media entity obliges you to act in the public interest and uphold journalistic integrity. We anticipate your prompt cooperation in setting the record straight, and in doing so, cease the perpetual continuation of harmful narratives. We are open to further discussions and providing additional information. We thank you sincerely for your immediate attention to this matter, and we expect a resolute and corrective response. Thank you, Nithyananda.